Episode 8. Congratulations. You made it 8 weeks not wanting to completely de-sun me.
Unbelievable. I can't believe it.
I know. That's a achievement.
What a father will do for his son.
It's a beautiful thing. We're getting some good views.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a decent amount.
I didn't know that.
2,000-3,000 on a couple of them.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because all the women like that nice haircut you get.
Yeah, well.
All right. Well, so today's going to be about the the tariff ruling from the Supreme Court, and then the drug what's his name? The drug lord.
The big drug lord they took out.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're even going to have too much disagreement, which is going to be boring for me.
Yeah, I know.
But let's get it started. El Mencho, the head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. So, all right. So let's start with the ruling, the tariff ruling.
Well, I kind of felt that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
I would have been surprised if it had not happened, because I think it's, at least constitutionally, it's pretty clear, and that a tariff is a tax, and Congress is the one that levies taxes. So I wasn't surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so a lot of people, when I post things online, I get a bunch of people commenting like, what? So you'd rather pay tax, like, oh, it does good for this and it does good for this and it's bringing in revenue. And, there's all these ancillary reasons why people agree with it. But I think,
let me say, I don't disagree with tariffs. And I think the president used them to do some good things. My position was, I don't think, based on the Constitution, he had the authority to use it under the means that he was using it.
Yeah, like an emergency act.
Yeah, emergency act.
Like we do with all the wars that we go to. It's like, it's not declared by Congress. Oh, it's an emergency. It's a terrorist. It's a this, it's a that. Everybody be scared. We have to do it or else the country's going to crumble. So that's,
so let me get back to, but I like.
Yeah, I know. Okay, good. So we will have some disagreement.
Tariffs do. I mean, it helps bring back business into the states. It raises money. I mean, there's a lot of good benefits.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the first. So, because I disagree. First of all, tariffs are there, and the reason why, in my viewpoint, okay, so the Constitution is one thing, but the reason why something is like the Constitution is so important is because of, what happened for them to create the Constitution, to restrain the federal government and to give most of, if not all, the power to Congress, right? And the reason for that, which is extremely important, is because they don't want one individual being able to just make decisions for the entire country and for the entire world, right? So while it may seem good, it does a lot of harm as well. And so let me just finish what I'm saying. So when one person has the ability to say 140% tax on Canada for this and 50%, when one person has that decision that they can make that, what does that do? It throws off huge aspects of the world economy, right? Which is not okay. Now, the opposite side of that argument, right, is, well, it's going to bring manufacturing back. Okay. Like that's what you were saying, right? Like it helps.
Well, I think that's one thing, because we've put ourselves in a really precarious position because we've outsourced so much: steel, medicine, chips. That's not good for us.
So this is beautiful, because now we're getting into an economic discussion plus politics, which I love both of these things. So what?
Well, let me just interject this. My belief is everything is economics.
Okay.
Everything is based on economics.
Yeah, a lot of it's based on money is essentially what everything, but I mean,
everything is based on economics.
People have certain beliefs that, motivates them. Like, put it this way, there's a lot of individuals out there that like, do I like to make money? Yes. Have I made millions, lost millions? Yes. But some people, are just passionate about certain things, religion, right? And like, now, do I think most of the world runs off of economic just commerce? Yes, that's always been the case, right? Everybody's trying to get a better quality of life. But I don't want to get sidetracked too much because I think it's extremely important.
Go ahead back to where you were. I just want to make that point so you know where I stand with my global thinking.
Right. So from a business standpoint, okay, from a global economic standpoint, business owners, right, or anybody that is starting anything, it doesn't matter if you're going to have a lemonade stand, right? You just want to understand that the field, the rules aren't constantly changing, because as a business owner, let's just say tariffs are now, Trump has the ability, or the president has the ability, and puts a 100% tariff on any cars that are manufactured outside the US, right? Whatever it is. So now you think, if we give the president that authority, okay, so let's just say, these businesses have to say, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and move our manufacturing back to the United States. And then what happens in 4 years if a Democrat gets elected, or somebody else that's not Trump and wants to say, hey, listen, we're going to get rid of these tariffs or whatever. Well, now they say, well, damn, we could be producing cars in Mexico for 50% less expensive, right? So all it does is it creates uncertainty in markets, and I don't like that. Now, the main issue is when one person can create uncertainty. The country was set up in a specific way that governments or one person shouldn't have power, because when one person has power, it shakes things up. It creates uncertainty, unrest. It's horrible. Hence, like the Federal Reserve and the Fed funds rate. Oh, when the Fed increases interest rates by 50%, mortgages do something. If they, increase, decrease, it just whips things around. The cost of capital is the same thing. It's not good, right? And I'll finish my dissertation after this. The best way is to allow the free market and to reduce regulations on business owners, right? So like, the reason why we can't manufacture as easily as some of these other countries is because it takes 10 years to get something going compared to another country. So, and the regulations aren't as steep, and the cost of labor isn't as expensive. So I think it's horrible to concentrate the power into one person's hands for the reason as it creates uncertainty. It doesn't bring back manufacturing, even though we're saying that. Listen, at the end of the day, businesses make a calculated decision. They may have to do it to placate to the US and to Trump, or else he's going to squash them. But at the end of the day, businesses just want consistency. I don't want all the power to be held in one person's hand. I bring my manufacturing back. I spend $100 million and then it changes by one person doing something. Nah, like my business can't operate that way, right?
Well, yeah, but I think that's a oversimplification. I think that that by exercising authority either through Congress or other legal means that the president would have, does help to bring back manufacturing.
Tariffs,
and Congress has already given the president that authority to do that.
That's like saying, oh, the president should just be able to increase taxes and decrease taxes however he sees fit or she sees fit.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Congress has the Trade Expansion Act, which allows tariffs on imports that threaten national security. So there are means
Right.
for it to happen now that Congress has given authority. The issue that Trump did was he used the Emergency Powers Act, which
Right.
there was no emergency, but he can use other things. But that's getting off. My point is, I believe tariffs can have a beneficial impact on our country.
Okay, so let's just separate these two things. Do you think that one person should have the power to raise taxes, lower taxes, raise tariffs, or lower tariffs? One person.
Do I think they should? No.
Okay, so we agree with that. You think?
However, Congress has
I get that.
passed legislation
There is a reason
that allows one person to do that. Whether I agree with it or you agree with it, Congress has already passed that.
Right. So
philosophically, I probably would agree with you that no, one person shouldn't be able to say, oh, we're making income tax is going to be 75% across the board.
Right.
Yeah, it
okay.
doesn't make sense.
So you think that our representatives should have to vote because we elect our representatives and we want them to carry out our wishes, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the reason.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, cool. So we're good on that. Okay. So you don't think one person should have the authority. It should come from Congress, even though Congress has delegated their authority during emergency acts. If we're in war and we need to raise funds for the military, and that's what we have to do. Cool.
But all I'm saying is, and I looked this up while you were talking, that the president already
has the authority under the Emergency Act.
No, also under the Trading with Enemies Act, the Trade Expansion Act. So there are a couple of laws that are in place that Congress has given the president that power. Whether you and I agree with it,
agreed. Congress can do anything as long as it doesn't violate, the Constitution. Right.
So the crux of, I think, where we probably disagree is I believe that tariffs used properly can have a positive impact on our country, both economically, socially, whatever.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think that raising taxes or lowering taxes improves the economy? What do you think?
Well, I think
well, let's talk about this. What are taxes?
Taxes are revenue streams for the federal government or any governmental agency.
100%. Yeah, it could be the county, it could be state.
And before we had income tax, it was all tariffs.
Right. Okay. So taxes are a way that governments get money from their citizens, right? Okay. So now let's dig one step deeper. Do you think that the money in general is better spent?
No.
Hold on.
Better spent by the federal government than by me.
Okay.
No question.
Okay. So I think most people, right, can agree that government agencies and the way that governments invest or spend their taxes, right? Nobody cares as much about your money as you do. Okay. Right. Now, even if I have a company and I have a company card and that company is 90% my company, I don't think about spending as much if it's on the company, right? Than if it's my own money, right? Even if it's 90% my company. So every step away, people don't care. Now, if you're getting money from somebody else, so we agree, governments mismanage funds. For every dollar they get in tax revenue, they may produce 5 cents in value.
Here's the problem. A big part of the problem, because, when I was on the school board, I think I looked at it as if it was my money. In other words, I would not do that.
I get it, but you just
and I'm
can't.
sure that there are some people in office that think that way. The problem is that that's not widely held by most people because they want to get reelected. But let's get back to what we were talking about, Anthony.
You were saying tariffs were good.
I think that tariffs used appropriately, let me put it this way. I think if I had a choice whether my income was reduced because of tariffs or taxes, I think I'd prefer tariffs because, first of all, that's based on what I spend. It's a consumption, more of a consumption tax as opposed to a work tax. In other words, I pay income tax because I earn money.
So here we agree.
If I pay because something is more expensive because there's a tariff, that's because I am using something.
At the end of the day, we agree on this. If Congress passed a law that said we're abolishing federal income tax and we're just going to do a 10% tariff on all goods, I'd be like, great. That's amazing. It gives the federal government less jurisdiction over, it gives the people more freedom. And like you said, it's a consumption. So I would like that. It's the same thing. They could say the same thing about a consumption.
The only problem with that is people at the lower end of the spectrum with earnings will feel it more than other people. But
that's social engineering. I mean, like that's you can't really, government should not treat some individuals better than others, right? It doesn't matter if somebody's a billionaire. I mean, philosophically, just because somebody's a billionaire doesn't mean that they should be getting taxed 50% when somebody else is not. Like,
which is what we do now. Which is
right,
what
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but there's
do we graduated tax? But at any rate, so can we get back to why you think tariffs don't help the country?
Yeah. So first off, there's really no difference between a tariff and a tax. It's the same thing, right? Okay. So we agree with that.
It's placed how is different.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. So the reason why, and this is where I started off at, is do I think a government, especially a federal government, knows how to use my money better than me? That's a big hard no. Now, my state.
That's oversimplified though. No, but go ahead.
All I'm saying is the federal government, I want to give them the least amount of money as possible. My state government that controls more of where I live, I'll give them more. My county government, I will give them more. I have more say. My town, I have more say.
The
my
closer they are to the people, the more responsive they are to the people's needs
and the money.
Know what the people want.
The money gets closer to my pocket.
Right.
The homeowners association, I would like to give them more money than a county government, right? Like I would delegate a certain amount.
And your father, who's very close, you'd love to give him most of your money.
Right. So my point is, the further a government gets away from somebody, the less I want them to take my money. I want it to be localized a lot more, right? Because it's malinvested the further it gets away from me.
I agree with that. So there's no disagreement, but can we get back to why you don't think tariffs benefit the country?
Yeah, because I'm telling you that all tariffs are a tax. And what I'm saying is, if you increase taxes or tariff, all it does is it increases prices. That's it. So the counter argument is, if we place a tariff on Mexico for cars not manufactured in the US at 50%, then businesses will move, right? Okay, that's
They'll
the
come back to
argument.
the States, right?
What I'm saying is a free market, the way that it works is beautiful. What happens is the people that are best suited and the regional area that is best suited to produce something should be doing that at the lowest possible cost, at the highest possible quality. So that means that in Mexico, if they have a great agriculture for bananas, right? We should not be putting a tariff.
That is very oversimplified, Anthony, because you're not taking into account the problems that can create for a sovereign country.
Okay, how about this?
For
Yeah, you give me a for instance. You ask me.
For instance, when we were going through COVID,
Yeah,
and we needed certain medications, we needed face masks, N95s. Guess what?
what?
Where are they all made?
China. Okay.
So we don't have any here, so we couldn't get them. It's a problem.
Let me explain why. The reason why is not that what. So then why don't you? That philosophical underlying argument means that you should put a tariff on everything in the world to get it. Dad, what you're doing is you're using one scenario that we couldn't get a product. And so you're saying that things need to be produced here. If you take that same argument and you follow it all the way out, your philosophical argument is that pretty much most things should be produced here because then we're at least protected. Now,
well, you know what made us a great nation was our manufacturing ability.
Doing commerce, free commerce with nations makes you the strongest nation.
Not if you don't have anything to offer.
What don't we have to offer?
Well, we were pretty down low on steel, on microchips,
okay,
on medicine.
But why? Let's talk about why.
Producing them here because it was cheaper to produce it somewhere else.
Because why? Keep on asking why. Ask why. Why was it cheaper?
Why, Anthony?
No, you answer your own question.
I don't know the answer. You must know it.
Of course you know it. Why would steel be produced outside of the U.S.? Why would chips be produced outside of the U.S.? Hold on.
Because their labor force was a lot cheaper.
Okay.
Also, in many instances, their quality was not as good.
Oh, wait. That's you're talking about the quality in the U.S.?
No, the quality of things made outside of the U.S. So
Asking,
in other words, it's easier to make a lower quality item than a higher quality item. Like that's.
Hold on. Tell me why. Are you saying that you're saying that people in China make lower quality than the U.S.? Like the Chinese aren't good enough?
No. They're very good. As a matter of fact, when you talk to Apple, they say they're not building iPhones in China because they're cheaper, because they have the labor force that can do it.
And they're very detail oriented.
However, here's one example. Let's take the building trades. Okay. A few years ago, most of the drywall was coming in from China.
Why?
Well, let me finish what I was going to say.
Okay.
Why? Because it was cheaper. Also, there were problems with the drywall because they didn't have the same standards. So guess what happened? There were hundreds of thousands of homes that they had to tear the drywall out because it was emitting.
Dad, your arguments are surface level. Your argument is still that type of thinking means that we should be producing everything in the U.S.
No. So wait a minute. So you're a believer that everything should be outsourced if it's cheaper.
I just want you to follow the first issue down to the core. I want
you to explain to me, because basically what you're saying, let me see if I understand. What you're saying is when you look at production. You look at where you can get whatever the item is for the best cost to lower
And the highest quality.
okay.
That's it. If I'm a business owner, my goal is how do I get the product into my consumer's hands that is the least expensive with the highest quality? That's it. But
Anthony, I think that's a, you know, that's a world view, which I guess I tend to be more nationalistic and think that an important part of a country is to be able to support itself and to be able to have the manufacturing, the skills, and the quality to produce things here so we are not dependent on someone else.
Okay.
You feel it's okay for us to be dependent on other countries. I don't think that's a good thing. Now,
Okay.
that's where we disagree. And
So-
that's okay. I don't disagree that you can get it cheaper and it's better because it's cheaper, but there are other things that you need to consider in the equation.
Okay.
And that is, what does it do to your country?
Okay. So you're making a good point that at the surface sounds all great and great for the country and all of this, right? Just it sounds good, right? Same way that government funding for people that are.
And Anthony, wait a minute. And you're making the point that we don't need to do that.
Yeah. Can we just follow one like
One
thing. Yeah. But all I'm saying is you're looking up here. There is this, you have to follow it to the why that goes much deeper. And a lot of the conversation is always up here. So let's just take one.
That's because I'm a realist. You're a philosopher.
No, it's because
no, you look at all of it philosophically,
Dad,
not realistically. I'm sorry, Anthony.
This is reality. Most people don't get it. So if you follow,
so you're the only one that gets it. So
No,
it's your reality.
No, there's a ton of people that agree with me. If you read like von Mises or Austrian School of Economics, like there's a whole theory on it, and there's tons of people. Same with the gold standard and what's gold doing right now. There many of these things that people thought were crazy are coming to all now, and it's making a lot more sense to people. So all I'm asking you is let's take this down to one simple example. You're saying drywall, okay? I'm not saying that drywall shouldn't be produced here. I think it should, right?
So here we disagree, because to be quite honest, that's not something that's as critical.
Oh, but Dad, you're just going to bounce all over the place. You said drywall, you said
I
masks.
use that as an example, but I'm not saying that means it has to be produced here.
Right.
You're missing my point.
How about this? You give me one thing that you think should be produced here that is not, and can we just stay on that one product?
Medicines.
Okay. So you think that all medicines should be produced in the US, right? Correct? All of them.
All is too big a statement. I think critical medicines.
Okay. Give me a critical medicine. You just got to hone in.
Anthony, okay, all medicines we should be able to produce all medicines here.
Okay, great. Can you just stay with that, right?
Okay.
Now, let's dig into why medicines may not be produced here. Not all of them are produced here, okay? So, do I think that most goods should be produced in the US? It would be amazing. But why are they not? That's what we have to talk about.
Because it's cheaper to produce it somewhere else, and it means it's cheaper to the consumer.
Okay, but why is it cheaper to produce somewhere else?
There's a lot of reasons. Number one, instead of having to pay somebody $30 an hour, they're paying them $30 a week.
Okay, so labor cost is one thing.
Right.
Okay, so we have that, and we'll get to that, and I agree. What's the other thing?
Materials.
Okay, where the materials are located, right? That's the other thing. So not all, now the US probably has freaking 95% of all materials that it really needs to produce most things, right? So we do have an abundance of materials. Now, what's the other thing? There's others. Really one more.
Cost of energy,
Yes.
land. Is
Well,
there
land
is there means to transport it? There's all those things that tie into it.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things. Now, one other thing that you're missing that I think is enormous.
Okay.
What is it?
Intellectual properties.
Well, to some extent, but it's what Trump slashed big time. What has he slashed? Which I agree completely.
I give up. What did he slash?
Regulations.
Oh,
The regulations
okay.
cripple our nation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what? Okay. So the main things of where a good is produced is based on the cost of labor, the raw materials needed to produce that, and how expensive regulatory is it to produce something. Those are the main things,
Okay.
right? Because transportation, yes, like, but you can transport tons of medicine, it doesn't cost that much extra, right? So the reason why medicine isn't produced more here, just like cars, just like everything else, is because of labor costs, and biggest is regulations. So we don't have to tariff things. We just need to make it more beneficial through laws that say, hey, listen, we're going to reduce regulations, which Trump has done an amazing job saying we're going to slash this regulation, slash, like the whole, the cars have to, start up, electric start, whatever it is,
Oh, the on-off start. Yeah, I hate that.
and the toilets, like all these regulations, right? So if we reduce regulations and we don't force labor to be so expensive, everything naturally, it becomes an amazing place to produce. That's it.
Anthony, I understand that.
Okay.
But the reality is, even if you reduce regulations, because I agree with that, our country was the greatest when there were less regulations.
Damn
But
right.
there was also some bad things that were happening: child labor, industrial waste being dumped where it shouldn't be.
But hold on a second.
There's
This is
a need for some.
This is a very good point, actually. So the waste stuff, a lot of people don't realize this, but first of all, waste is private property and that should be handled in the court systems, right? So if somebody's dumping something in the river, right, and it's affecting other people, they should be held liable in court. Now, this is going to,
By whom?
what do you mean? By the people that take them to court? Like, it could be a class action lawsuit, whatever the hell it is.
So
it doesn't
have to be the government, is what you're saying.
No. And here's the thing. We're going to take the BP oil spill. Okay. So what ends up happening is these big companies actually lobby to get government to have specific certifications and regulations that these big companies have to abide by. And so long as a government official signs off on it, right, they're essentially protected. Okay. Which means that if something bad happens, they can stand behind the cloak of, hey, this was the government's regulations. We followed them. And so we're not liable, as opposed to being held in the court of law without governments that have been lobbied to put in specific laws to actually shield big companies, that if people die from drug overdoses and they're not being, like the whole pandemic that happened with a lot of these drug companies, They were protected by the government. It was passed by the FDA, right? And
there was a law, right, that you can't, that manufacturers of vaccines are immune.
exactly.
Right, that shouldn't be.
Exactly. So this is when you get to the crux that no, this is the philosophical real core of these issues. So
Yeah, but we're way off the course with
no,
regard to tariffs and the value.
well, we discussed that.
Yeah,
That's based on labor,
yeah,
high regulations, and where the goods come from, where the raw materials are. That's it. That's it. You say I simplify it. Listen, I'm a pretty heady person, right? Once you get out of the topical discussion of this, that, it deduces down to basics. People make it much harder than it is. It just isn't.
And I think that's, part of the problem is, I think that there is a push, and we talked about this previously, about people that basically want a centralized global political entity.
Okay. But are we talking about tariffs or are we off that?
No, it's all part of it.
Okay.
Because that tariffs help protect a nation's sovereignty, I believe.
Okay,
now, you may not agree with that, and that's okay, but I think it does.
Let me tell you my viewpoint. My viewpoint is not that. It creates isolationism, and I'm not for that. What I am for is I am for free and open commerce. So let me finish my point, okay? Because you think the opposite of this. The way that I think is when our companies and other countries' companies have investments in either countries without government interference, it levels the playing field. Why? Because people, just like when you have to invest in a company, you have an invested interest in that country. You have set up business over there. That for sure creates the best possible scenario of a very peaceful world, because you have businesses producing in every country. They all have agreements and they don't want war. Why?
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you agree with reciprocal tariffs? In other words, if a country has a tariff on our automobiles for 40%, is it okay for us to put a tariff on theirs?
So I'd have to look into it, and I want to say no, because I just don't believe that all taxes do is it transfers money to the government, right? And the government, so the government, we already went over this. You're making
no, we didn't, because you look, you're saying off the top of your head, you would say if Germany has a 40% tax tariff on our cars coming into Germany,
right,
we shouldn't then have a 40% tax on their German cars coming into the United States.
Right. And on the surface, it sounds like that makes sense. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it. My counter argument, which I would say I would disagree, is the philosophical discussion of when that German car comes in here and we put a 40% tariff, all it does is you take let's just say a $10,000 car.
And now it's 14,000.
So the consumer pays more. And where does that $4,000 go?
So you don't realize.
Hold on. We have to finish this.
It goes to the government.
Okay.
So you don't realize that the reason why Germany puts a tariff on US vehicles is because they want their vehicles produced in their country to have a better
it.
opportunity to be sold.
I get it. But
Okay.
you have to think about the flip side of the coin. Just take it for what it is, okay? If I'm playing the devil's advocate, and I know you're rolling your eyes, just be simple-minded with me for a second, okay? A $10,000 car, okay, now becomes, it can come into our country, it becomes 14,000, which means the consumer has to pay more of their hard-earned money. Hold on. That 4,000 goes directly to the government.
Or instead of buying the $14,000 car that came from Germany, you buy the $10,000 car that was built by Americans in America that has no tax on it. So that helps the people here that are getting jobs to build the cars. It helps our economy. We're better off.
Okay. And that sounds amazing.
It is.
Okay, so let me be the counter argument to that, which is this. If Germany can send a car in here and we can't beat them in quality for the same price, and we're manufacturing them here with the goods and labor here, we shouldn't even be competing. The goods
now you're assuming that we can't build a car as good as Germany.
Damn right. That's all I'm saying. Let the free market decide.
I agree with the free market. The free market market means you don't put a tariff on our goods. We don't put a tariff on your goods. That's free and fair trade.
Okay.
What you're suggesting is not. You're suggesting that, well, even if they put a tariff on us, you got to look at the reality of it, that it hurts the American consumer because they're paying more. No, it hurts our country because
who's our country? Tell me who our country is.
The people.
Damn right. So
and the people that are not working because we're not able to sell our cars because other ones, we can't export them because we're getting tariffed.
Listen, 90% of people are going to agree with you in this. Okay. 90%.
Well, look, hopefully the people that listen to this will make a comment and say, yes, I agree with the father on this.
100. I'm telling you, at least 90% of people will be agreeing with you on
We'll
this.
see.
Oh, so because it's just,
I think there are a lot of people that probably think like you.
Maybe
younger people, older people don't.
Nah. Most people are going to think like you. Maybe less than 1% are going to think the way that I'm thinking. So, but anyways, what you're saying is pretty damn weak for the US. If we cannot compete manufacturing here with the raw materials here and create a car that is better, hold on, let me finish. It is better than a car being produced in a country that has to be shipped over here. We got issues. Those issues, hold on, are not the people. It is the regulations and the product that we are shipping here, that we're producing here. You're on mute or something. I can't hear you. You're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry. Any car that comes here has to meet the U.S. regulations, number one. Number two, my point is, if it's an even playing field, we're not charging tariffs, they're not charging tariffs, then the market can operate naturally. Them placing a tariff creates a non-equal position.
Here we go.
And that's it. We're beating the dead horse.
No, because this
I'm
is
going to put mine on mute now.
Okay, cool. Let's say they put us a 40% tariff on us, right? Then what? We put a 40% tariff on them, right? Now it's even, right? Okay. Then what do? They put an extra 10, right? Then we put an extra 10.
And it's even again.
Okay. Then they put 50. They mark it up to 60% tariff. Now we're up to 60%.
Okay.
And now they're at 100%.
But it's only on imported. So the cars that are built here
Oh
that
my.
Americans are building, Anthony, I don't understand how you can take that line that is so illogical, because the reality is it's not hurting our consumers, because they have the choice to buy a car that was built in America by Americans with American materials
Yeah.
at the price that doesn't include a tariff.
I'm going to tell you, and this may sound crazy, but this is what naturally happens over time. Okay. We don't tariff things. Okay. And we have the freest market in the freest country in the world. What ends up happening is we lower our regulations, we lower our taxes. Now, when people live here, they can get a car that's an amazing car for $20,000. Okay. Because the raw materials are here, the regulations are low, and we're not adding taxes and we're not tariffing things. So when people from Germany or from other countries come over here, they see the quality of life of the individuals here is so much higher for so much less expensive. Then they want to move here. Then they start moving out of their country. And it may sound crazy, but that's what happens over time, because people care about quality of life. What can I get for how much I'm working? The more money that goes into the government's hands through taxation, through tariffs, it takes the money from the people, puts it into the government malinvests it, gives it to some type of NGO or some organization that people have lobbyists for, and the people don't get the value out of it.
I'm not arguing that point.
Well,
all right, so let's move on, because I think we beat this dead horse. It's bleeding all over my desk.
No, it's good. This is what we're good on this, because we don't even need to go into the I mean, this is a good episode. You want to go watch the debate. It's been 45 minutes. And I mean, okay, so the drug cartels. I guess we will do it. We'll just do it really quick, but I know this stuff can drag on.
The drug cartels?
Yeah,
so I mean, basically what happened is, I guess we provided intel to Mexico, and Mexico struck that major leader
Kingpin.
of the kingpin.
So let me just ask
now there's a lot of unrest in Mexico. I'm glad you're not there.
Yeah, no shit. Philosophically speaking, do you think that we should be going over because should we be going over to any country to kill people to stop drug trade?
Well, we didn't go into Mexico. We provided intel. Okay. So if we're talking about what's going on in Mexico, from my understanding, we didn't have any military type action there. We had intelligence action that we provided for them.
Okay, let me ask
you. The other question is what we talked about with Maduro. So we already went over that.
Let me ask you a question a different way. Do you think Mexico would have done what it did without the U.S.? Would they have made that decision to do that?
You would have to ask them. I don't know. I know that we make it very clear that we want to stop the drug trafficking.
So, I mean, just probability wise,
probability. Would they allow? They probably would have just allowed it to continue to go on.
Okay, and they wouldn't have done like it's been happening, right? So let's just say we both agree on that. That if it wasn't for the U.S. putting pressure, they probably wouldn't have done anything, right?
Well, yeah. Okay. So what? What's your point?
Okay. So then, do you think it's okay for the U.S. to put pressure on other countries to do things in their own country because it's going to quote unquote benefit the United States?
That's a good question. It's kind of like, should I put pressure on you as my child to try to make you do something that maybe you wouldn't want to do, like play an instrument or whatever?
Correct. Yeah.
And you know, it depends, because if it makes for a better person or for a better country, like, would Mexico be better off if they didn't have all these drug cartels?
Okay. Okay. So let's just stop right there. So what you're saying, because this is good. Your philosophy is, if it makes it better for the other country, then it's okay for us to put pressure, right? That's what you think?
I don't think there's anything wrong with working with another country to help them resolve what is a big negative issue in their country. I
Wait,
don't
but
think that's a
hold on.
bad thing.
But hold on. What makes it a negative thing for their country? It may not be negative.
Well, then if it's not negative, then so be it.
And should they be able to dictate what they think is negative and what's not in their own country?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're for sovereignty. So then
Yeah.
you don't think somebody else should come here and put pressure on the United States and force the United States to do something because it's going to benefit their country somewhere else, right?
Well, I think that that's all part of what goes on in the world.
I get
People
it.
are always trying to impact people, countries, cities, towns. I mean, that's
Right, but I'm talking about, do you think it's morally okay? Let's just say, for us to put pressure on Ukraine to go fight a war. I mean, because it's the same principle at the end of the day. Should we put pressure on Ukraine to go fight a war with Russia?
no, and I don't think we are. If anything, we're doing probably the opposite, trying to get them to stop. And that's the same issue, but on the other foot.
Yeah, so
You know,
most
putting pressure on them to say, look, we're going to cut off anything that you want to buy from us to fight your war. We're not going to sell you anymore.
yeah,
So
I mean,
you would not agree with that, right?
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you know, most people would disagree, but I don't think that going and starting wars in other places makes us safer.
No,
And
I
it-
don't think so either. We already agreed to that.
well, that's what it's doing in Mexico. So
No, we're not doing that in Mexico, Anthony.
hold on, okay. The premise is that the drugs are coming into our country and it's killing our citizens. And therefore we have the right to go put pressure on other countries or to invade other countries.
And I don't have a problem with putting pressure on countries that, look, there are more people killed in 1 year from drugs that come over from Mexico than was killed in the whole Vietnam War.
Okay, but so they
So
say,
do I think it's okay for us to put pressure on a country and say, look, you are allowing this
Oh.
to happen,
no,
and it's killing our people.
no, this is the bullshit that I hate. Okay. This is what I hate. People don't take personal responsibility for their own actions and for what they do, because that
You
drug
mean
guy,
the kids that they're taking the drugs?
damn right, that drug guy, first of all, drugs are not going away. We know this. They're going to come from somewhere else. It comes down to personal responsibility and parenting.
I don't disagree with that.
So, but everybody's always like, oh, the fentanyl is killing our kids. No, whoever's
But
taking the drug.
Anthony, come on, you're smart enough to know that if things are readily available and
Yeah.
easy to get,
Yeah.
it's going to be used more. If it's harder to get, it's not going to be used as much.
Okay, but okay, this is good. When things when things are readily available and they're legal, then they're not laced with things. Then people know what dosage they're getting. Hold on.
Look, I think, hey, wait, let's talk about that. To me, I think somebody that's an adult and wants to do drugs in their house, they should be able to get a prescription for whatever it is. And if they want to sit in their house and be zoned out,
Yeah.
or overdose,
Okay. So
so be it.
you're for personal responsibility, so long as you're not affecting other people, right? Like if you take a drug and it killed, well, that's on you. If you killed somebody, like just like alcohol, right? It's personal responsibility. There's no difference between alcohol and fentanyl and heroin. They're all just substances, and at a different level, they are lethal, right? And some are more addictive than others. The most addictive drug is sugar. It kills more people every year than all the drugs, right? So then outlaw sugar. All I'm saying is when they say that it's a drug war and that those cartels and terrorists are killing people here, no, it's the people that are taking them here are killing themselves. And yeah, things get laced because people are trying to make money and it gets dirty. Legalize everything and you don't have these issues, because killing a drug pin is not going to get rid of the drug trade. Legalizing it makes it safe and allows
I
legit
don't know that I
businesses.
disagree with what you're saying.
Beautiful. So we shouldn't be over there.
But again, I am not necessarily opposed to the United States working with countries that have problems that spill over into our country. So that's all I'm saying. I think that there is kind of a responsibility of any government, whether it's a school district or whether it's
what I think is
to protect the people that are in.
No, it's not the government's job to protect. It's the individual's job to protect. But what I think.
Wait a minute. Let's go back to what, the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or one of those.
No, that's to uphold laws. Yes, I agree. And governments are there to
That's
protect
what they're
the
there
individual.
for. That's a major thing. And you're just saying no.
No, hold on. That is different than protecting individual rights to allow people to freely live their life is one thing. The ability for a government agency to tell somebody what to do with their own body, if they're not affecting somebody else, is not okay.
We can get into
abortion.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother.
That's.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Anyways, I don't want to get off this topic.
I don't think I could go there anyway.
You know what I think is amazing? That one of my buddies was here from the Netherlands, and I didn't realize this, but like ecstasy, there's all these drugs that are illegal to sell,
but okay to use.
Well, yeah, you can use them, and the government actually has testing facilities to make sure your shit's not laced, because they're like, hey, listen, we're not going to stop it. You know what we're going to do on the local level? We're going to make it so if you want to get these strips and come and you can test your stuff out to make sure it's not laced and you're not going to die and you know how potent it is. Like, I think that's great. So, but okay.
There's a lot of stuff we could unpack
so much
for the next show. For number 9.
It's never ending.
Huh?
I said it's never ending.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the State of the Union is said tonight. What's said at the State of the Union, we'll see. But free commerce, lower regulations, government shouldn't be dictating what people can put in their own body.
Well, I hope the convention, the amendment convention, the convention of states, I hope they can pass term limits, balanced budget.
Yeah. Well, the balanced budget's one thing. If they just audit the Federal Reserve and get rid of the Federal Reserve, you don't have to worry about balancing the budget.
Well, it still should be a balanced budget. I mean, regardless.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I think it should work, and the way I've always wanted it to work, is that the states should be giving the federal government the funding. The federal government should not be imposing taxes on the individuals, right? Like Florida, cool. Hey, US, we're giving you, $2 billion a year for your services, right?
Well, there was a song, I think, by Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
And basically talks about the monster is on the loose and you can't control it. And
Yeah,
that's
right.
what the federal government is.
Yeah.
And with that, I will
Go watch
say
your show.
peace.
Peace out. Keep the
Peace
peace.
Yeah.
Peace and prosperity. All right. Love you.
Love you too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.